Alrighty, so in this video we're going to work more on our lobby system. We want to be able to create lobbies and join lobbies. So yeah, there's a bunch of different ways we can start with this. I think the most straightforward way would be to go ahead and jump into Unity and start designing the user interface so you guys can kind of see where I'm going with this. So let's go ahead and jump into the lobby scene. What I want, and also my mouse wheel is acting up, so zooming in is going to be very difficult. What I want to do here is, if I can, give me a sec. Here we go. Hold down Alt, then right-click and drag if you want to zoom in without a working mouse wheel. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to take this players panel. Also, this I don't like this amount of padding here. That's just kind of annoying me. I'm going to jump to the chat panel, and I'm going to reduce its left to 165. So there's a 5-pixel border between that, and I think that looks better. So for this, I'm going to jump over to the players panel, and I'm just going to move it up. I guess we can have it 50% here. So to do that, what I'm going to do is, let's see. Well, if I actually wonder if I jump into the canvas, go ahead and create a new panel. And on this panel, I don't want it to have an image, so I'm going to just completely remove the image component from it. So it's just going to be used for positioning. And I'll just go ahead and dock it to the left like what we did before with our players. And I'll move its width down to what the players was. And our players panel is 160. So for this panel, I'm going to give it a width of 160. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it up here to the top, and then I'm going to dock players into it. Then on this panel, I'm going to give it a vertical layout group. Then on players, I guess I can go ahead and just duplicate this. So I'm going to select this game object and hit Control D. And now we have a nice little, we'll go ahead and rename this lobbies. So now we have a nice little place here with our vertical layout panel that will go ahead and make sure that both of these guys are the equal height. And if stuff starts to mess up because of items being added or removed, we can of course go in and change the layout element as well, but I'm not too worried about that. So for this, let's go ahead and change the text here on this to say lobby. So actually what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating two of these panels. Maybe we want to go ahead and on this panel, I'll rename it left column. Maybe what we want to go ahead and do is jump down here and give it a spacing of maybe 5 pixels. So it's consistent with the 5-pixel padding we have, or the 5-pixel margin we have over there. Okay, so now that we have that all marginified, jump down to lobby. So there's going to be two things we want to do. We want to have a lobbies panel like this that's going to list all the lobbies and allow you to join a lobby that's been created. And also it'll have a button for creating a new lobby if that's what you want to do. Also, I want to have another panel that will be used to show all of the players in the current lobby. So once you join a lobby, this panel will disappear and a new panel will show up that will allow you to start the game if you're the lobby leader, leave the lobby if you want to, change your hero, change your team, as well as see all the existing players in that lobby. So we're going to be developing two panels like this. So the first one is lobbies, and we'll rename this lobby panel. And for our lobbies, the prefab that we're going to be using, so we already had the player row, right? If you remember that, I'll just drop this in here. So we have the player row, but we're actually going to be building a different prefab. And the reason is on the lobbies, I want to have a button for joining the lobby. So there's a couple of ways we can do it. We could make the entire thing that gets added here in a button, which I'm really not against that idea. Or we can add a little join button to the side. I think I will go ahead and make this a button. And the quickest way to do that is I'm not going to base this off the existing prefab. So I'll go ahead and nuke that. And then on lobby panel, I'll right-click, select UI, and go into button. So you see that we have these buttons being added, and unfortunately they're not working properly because of the way the layout works. So we have to go into the button, and we have to give it a vertical layout group and set its force expand height to false, and then we can go ahead and give it some padding. So I'll give it a top padding of 5 and a bottom padding of 5. And we go ahead and change the text here inside of this to lobby. So that's how we go ahead and get the content to properly size like that. So now we have those lobbies, and all those lobbies will be created. I do believe, though, that our players are oriented to the left, and I can go ahead and validate that real fast by instantiating this prefab player row. Whoops, inside of here. And yes, it's aligned to the left. So in this text, I will go ahead and align this guy to the left as well to be consistent. And in our button, we might want to give a left padding of 5 and a right padding of 5 as well. So now we have our lobbies, and then you would click on that lobby to join the lobby. I know it's not super fancy, but this will work. So our spacing looks correct as I create more of these. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove these 2 duplicates. And for this button, I'm going to rename this lobby row. And then I'll go ahead and turn it into a prefab by dragging over in user interface, main lobby. So now we have our lobby button prefab that we can use to join lobbies. Now I'm not going to worry about the click handler. We're gonna fix that. I'm not going to create a class for this. We'll just leave it assumed to be a button. Unlike our text, our chat messages where we had to create a mono behavior to tie in those 3 text fields. But anyway, so that is our lobbies. That's really all there's going to be for now for the list, but we also have to have a button to create a lobby. So what I'm going to do on the lobby, right here on lobbies, we should have we don't have any components here, but I think what we can do here is I'm going to right click and I'm going to create a panel in here. So I'll create a panel. In this panel, I'm going to go ahead and what's the height of this text? The height is 20. So for this panel, I'm going to give it a top of 20. So currently it's in stretch mode, which is what I want. I'll give it a top of 20, and actually, no, what I want is for it to be top aligned. So we'll give it a position Y of 20 and a height of 30 or something like that. And that's really not looking good. I don't know if it's screwing up here or if... Let's see here. So for the panel, position, negative 20 is what we want. And then a height of 30. And then for my lobby panel, we have to offset that by 30. So we give it a height of 50. So now our little button panel where our control buttons are going to go is now positioned right there. So for this, I am going to go ahead and nuke its image. So let's go ahead and remove the image out of it. And inside of this panel, I guess I can go ahead and create a horizontal layout group. And then inside of that, I'm going to rename this panel to toolbar. Inside of that, I'm going to right-click and create a new button and duplicate that to fix that issue. And for the button, I'm going to go ahead and change its text to create lobby. And that's really big. So let's do a couple things. For this text, I'm going to take its size down. So maybe give it a font size of 9 points. How does that look? Nah. 10 points. And then I'm going to actually take the size of my toolbar and I'm going to make it smaller. So I think right there we have a height of 20. So let's go ahead and just give it a height of 20 and then come back into our lobby panel and give this, let's take 10 off that. So that's going to be 40. So now that's properly aligned. So now we have that. And then maybe in addition, inside of our toolbar layout group, maybe take off child force expand width, and that should be good. Give it a padding left of 5. And then inside of this button, which I'm going to rename create lobby button, I'm going to go ahead and give it a, I'm going to create a vertical layout group inside of that. So it expands like that. And then make sure that child force expand width and height are off, and they are. Oh, I have to go ahead and turn off child force expand width on that as well. And then in addition, we can come down here and add some padding as well. So let's give it a left and a right padding of 5 pixels each. And we have that. Maybe the create lobby is redundant. We can go ahead and just call it create. Okay, so that's our awesome little toolbar. Not so pretty, but that's okay. Not really going here to make this pretty. That's something that we can work on later and you guys can do on your own. But that should be functional. And so now what we got to do is, or what we will do is we'll tie this lobby window directly into our system mono behavior, because we can do that and we can reference all of these directly. But we're going to run into a potential issue with our lobby window. So our lobby window is going to appear when a game lobby system or a game lobby system is created. So you guys know that inside of our API, if I jump over here, go into our components, we have this game lobby system. So when this component gets created, that means that the client is a part of a lobby, and so the user interface has to change. Now, this system, we can't have already instantiated in the scene like we could with the main lobby system, because this system will come and go as you join and leave lobbies. So it has to be dynamically instantiated. And when it appears, I want this screen, this lobby screen, to go away, and I want it to be replaced by a different panel. So let's go ahead and design that different panel real fast. I'm going to take this lobbies, and I'm going to go ahead and... Actually, I'm going to take players. I'm going to duplicate players. So now we have this. And then for players, I'm going to rename this lobby. And the text, I'm going to go ahead and just do an all caps lobby. And the reason I'm doing all caps here is we're going to replace the title here, this text, with the title of the lobby that we just created. Now, don't worry that we have this panel visible. Remember, when we deactivate either one of these panels, because we're in a vertical stack panel, it'll fit to the remaining space, so we don't have to worry about anything like that. Also, before I forget, I can delete this lobby row instantiation because we no longer need that. So what does our lobby need? Well, it needs a way to start the game, delete the lobby, and that'll only happen if you are the lobby creator. And it also needs a way to set the hero and set the team, and it also needs to list the players. So we have these three things going on. What I'm going to do here is on the player panel, I'm going to go ahead and... What's the best way to do this here? We can go ahead and create a vertical layout group. But we can't because it's already there, so that's cool. We're going to rename this lobby panel. And then inside of our lobby panel, we are going to create... let's do 3 panels. So panel 1... Actually, I can just duplicate this, panel 2 and panel 3. I will come down here, though, on this guy and say child force expand height for this. And for the spacing, I'm going to take off all the padding and spacing on this. Then, for these 3 panels, I'm going to remove their image component, so they don't have any visual aspect to them. They're just used for layout. And then after I do that on all 3 of these, I could have done that by control-clicking. I know, you guys don't have to remind me. But I'm going to go ahead and rename these. So the first one is going to be admin toolbar, and the second one is going to be options, and the third one is going to be players. So for the admin toolbar, I'm going to go ahead and in this panel, I'm going to create a horizontal layout group, and I'm going to add 2 buttons, UI button, and then duplicate that. And the first button is going to be the start, and this is going to have a text of start. And the second button is going to be, I don't know, destroy, leave, something like that. Oh, we still need a button to leave the lobby, don't we? We could actually probably accomplish that with that button on the bottom. So I'm just going to leave here, start, and then for this one I'll just call destroy, and we'll just type in, we'll locate its text component, and we'll just do destroy. So for this admin toolbar, I do want both the start button and the destroy button to have vertical layout groups or horizontal layout groups. It actually really doesn't matter. So I'm going to add these layout groups to both of these guys. And I'm going to take off the, let's see how we can do this here. So we'll do that. And then we want to go ahead and let's think here. What we want to do is we want to go to the admin toolbar and take off his child force expand height. And then I think we want to do the same thing to the individual buttons. We want to take off their child force expand height and the child force expand height. And then on the admin toolbar, I think we want to add a layout element with its preferred height of, or its flexible height of 0. I think that's what we want to do there. And then for start and destroy, we of course want some padding here, so we'll do a left, right, top, bottom padding on start and destroy. So something like that. Now we want for our lobby panel, we have our admin toolbar in. We'll do our options next, I guess. And for our options, we want basically the same thing, a horizontal layout group. And then inside of the options, we want to create 2 drop-downs. So create a drop-down A and create drop-down B. And unfortunately, we're having some technical difficulties here with Unity. There we go. I just hit Control-S and it just magically worked, because of course it did. Now let's work on our players real fast, because I want the players to take the remaining space, and I don't want these to expand. So for this guy, I'm going to give him a horizontal, whoops, not a horizontal layout group. For this guy, I'm going to give him a vertical layout group, and I want to also add a layout element, and I want to set his flexible height to 1. Let's see here. I'm still getting used to this. I used to know this really well. Take off the child force expand height on options, and then for these two drop downs, we want to give it a, I don't know, I think a horizontal layout group for these. Or it might be easier for these guys just to get a layout element. This will be easier. So for our drop downs, give them a layout element and give them a min height of like, I don't know, 25. And then do the same thing for this drop down. So he'll have a layout element, and we'll give him a min height of 25. So now we have an issue with our options and our admin toolbar, unfortunately, expanding. Maybe in our lobby panel, if we took off force expand height, there we go. Okay, so to reproduce this layout, what we do is we have our lobby panel, which has a layout element and a vertical layout group without child force expand height. The admin toolbar has a flexible height of 0. Actually, it doesn't matter here because it looks like 0 is the default, but you can put a flexible height of 0. So basically that says, well, I don't want to expand past my preferred height. And then options, you do, for options are a little bit different. I have a horizontal layout group here, but I took off child force expand height. And then on players, I have a layout element here with a flexible height of 1. See, if I didn't have that, it wouldn't expand. But by setting the flexible layout to 1, we've weighted this element to take up and to fill all of the remaining space. So now everything is mostly positioned the way I want it to, except I do want these buttons to have the same width. And one way to do that would be to go down in each one of these buttons to its vertical, or actually add a layout element to it, and set their preferred width to 0. So then on destroy, I'll add a layout element, and I'll set its preferred width to 0. And now because both their preferred width is 0, they're not calculating the size of that text inside of there to be their preferred width anymore. We've overridden that. And since they both have a preferred width to 0, they get split evenly among the available space. And for our drop-downs, we don't really have to worry about that. They're going to have the same space there. And so for this drop-down, we will have the hero drop-down. And for this drop-down, we'll have the team drop-down. All right, so that's our lobby so far. For our drop-downs, do we want to change any of these parameters? I don't think so. Well, we probably want to remove all these bogus items. We'll populate the items at runtime so that we just have to maintain an enum and not have to remember to do the thing. So we have our hero drop-down and our team drop-down, and so far everything is awesome. So now the last thing we need to do is have a leave lobby. So leave lobby is really easy. On this layout panel right here, we'll just add a new button. Add a button and save so the layout gets applied. And then our button will go ahead and add a vertical layout group. So, whoops, no, stop that madness. A vertical layout group so it gets its text. And then of course we'll take off child force expand height, and we'll give it a padding top and a padding bottom of 5. And then we'll simply rename it to leave lobby. So now the only thing left to do is to create the prefabs for our players. But honestly, I think... no, we should make a prefab for this. So for the prefab, I'll just right-click, select text. So these will just be text elements. And for our players, we will go ahead and set its child force expand height to false. So now we can just duplicate these individual texts. And as you see, the more players we add, we have a problem here. So it might be a good idea to actually replace players with a scroll view. I'm not sure how well that'll work, so let's go on an adventure and figure that out. So for the players, what we have going on here is we have our layout element with a flexible height of 1. So in theory, I should be able to delete that game object. Right-click lobby panel, go to UI, create a a scroll view, add that to above the button. By the way, I'll rename this button to leave lobby. And inside of the scroll view, go ahead and add a layout element to it and give it a preferred a flexible height of 1. So now our scroll view does take up all that space, and that's a good thing. So for a scroll view, I'll rename this to players. And then I'm going to go ahead and disable its horizontal scroll. And then for its viewport, what I'm going to do here is the same thing we did with our chat messages. So the viewport is going to have a content size fitter with its vertical fit to preferred size. And now what we, in addition to that, we want a vertical layout group. And now I should be able to right-click, hit UI, hit text, and duplicate this. And it does indeed work. That's awesome. So now let's go ahead and change our parameters on our vertical layout group to make those player names a little bit more comprehensible. So do that. What do we do here? Let's jump into our content. And in the vertical layout group, we can give it a left padding, a right padding, and a spacing of 5. So that's how our players will appear. And remember, the lobby and the lobbies window are never going to be displayed together. So to get a better idea of how this is going to look when we're in a lobby, I can simply go up to lobbies and just uncheck this. So it's no longer displayed. And that also shows us an issue. No, it doesn't. I just had to hit Control-S to get a reflow. It is kind of annoying. You know, I like the whole being able to use a WYSIWYG instead of the awful on GUI nonsense. But on the other hand, it is a little buggy, and sometimes hitting Control-S seems to cause it to reflow everything. So that's why it wasn't working there a second ago. So yeah, stuff and things. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking a good idea here, kind of an object-oriented thing here, and for some reason things are purple, would be to create a mono behavior that's responsible for all the lobby, just the lobby stuff, but is not a system. And then the system will tell that mono behavior, hey, I'm a system I was just created, go ahead and do your things. And then we can statically create that mono behavior and tie everything up. I think that would be a good way to approach this. So what I'm going to do here, now that we're ready to tie things up, let's enumerate all the things we have to hook into our code here. So what are the things we have to hook into our code? Well, we need a event handler for our create lobby button. So we'll do that. We need to, inside of our lobbies, we do need to reference our lobby panel and our lobby row as game objects to our main lobby system. And then we need to create a class that's going to represent this lobby panel. So I guess let's go ahead and get started and actually write some code here. So jumping into our client, let's jump over into our main lobby system, which is conveniently open. And what I'm going to do here is under player row prefab and player list, I'm going to do basically the same thing here. I'm going to say game object, lobby row prefab, and public game object, lobby list. And then in addition to that, I'm going to find a good place to add the event handler, or not the event handler, but the thing that will be the event handler that'll create a lobby for us. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do that, I think, do that underneath chat box updated. So I guess the sorting that I'm thinking here. So at the top we have our fields, we have our wake, then we have our event handlers from the server, and then here at the bottom we'll have our event handlers for the client. So for this, I'm going to create a public void create lobby. And create lobby, what that's going to do is it's going to do proxy dot create lobby. Now this is a deferred. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to go ahead and const. Wow, too much JavaScript. I'm going to do var, and I'm going to say dialog equals context prefabs instantiate, and I'm going to instantiate a, not a confirm, what do we call that? Alert dialog. And the alert dialog, I will say set can dismiss to false. I'll set title to creating lobby. And then I will, honestly, I think that's it. Do we have to call show specifically? I always forget. Set can dismiss, set message, set title, close, and blah, blah, blah. No, we don't. Okay, so that'll display that dialog. And I'll say create lobby, and I'll say on success, we're simply going to do dialog.close. But on fail, I'm going to say def goes into, so we can retrieve the, so we can retrieve the error. I'm going to say dialog.setTitle, error.setMessage, def.error, and then I'll say set can dismiss to true. So you guys, it's funny how much stuff is going on in these few lines of code. So we're creating that dialog, we're presenting it, and the dialog will appear as a modal dialog. So it's going to prevent any further user interaction. So they can't mash the create lobby button, for example. And then we tell the server to create the lobby, and if it did, we just close the dialog because the server is going to tell us, oh, we created the system for you. So then that logic is going to reshuffle our UI. But if it fails, we just reuse that same dialog to show them the error, but then we set can dismiss to true so that the user can dismiss the dialog. So I think that's fantastic. Let's see here. I guess while we're in the code, we might as well handle our onLobby created, onLobby updated, and onLobby destroyed. So for this, I'm pretty much just going to follow the same pattern for our player row. So I'll start off by coming down here and creating a private class. Again, I'll scroll back up to that code we just wrote if you want to take a look at it. But for this, we will do a private class lobby row. And the lobby row will have a public game object that represents the row that can be created or destroyed or moved or whatever. And then we'll have a public lobby details, and we'll call this detail. So we're following pretty much the exact same sort of setup here. And for our constructor, we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to take in the game object. And I wish my scroll wheel would work. And then I'm going to say public void set lobby details, which will take in a lobby details. Now, our lobby is a button. So we're going to have to do something interesting here, I suppose. We're going to have to deal with when the lobby is clicked. I do want to, even though we're in a nested class here, we are in a nested class, so technically all these nested classes are a part of the main lobby system class, but I do want to abstract away as much as possible in this small class, like what we did with the set user details here. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to go ahead and create a private read-only button underscore button and a private read-only text, and then I'm also going to create a public event action on click, or how about on join lobby, and it's actually going to be an action of lobby details. So on join lobby or on join lobby clicked would be a better name for that. And then inside of our constructor, I'm going to go ahead and extract both of these components from that main component, that main prefab. So I'm going to say underscore button equals game object game object. There we go. Get component in children, and I'm going to pass in a button as a generic parameter, or generic argument in this case. So a game object dot get component in children, and we'll pass in our text. And then I'm going to say button dot on click dot add listener. And add listener is simply going to invoke, it's going to delegate out into our on join lobby click. So I think this is a good sort of abstraction where the main class isn't going to have to worry about the details of the prefab. So if we ever want to abstract this or move this or change it or whatever, we can do so in a very convenient location. So for this, I'm simply going to say if on join lobby click does not equal null, then on join lobby clicked details. Actually, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have on join lobby click pass in a lobby row like that. And of course, ReSharper is going to warn me to tell me to use null propagation, but that's not going to work in Unity. Remember, Unity is using the C#3 compiler, and null propagation is a C#6 feature. So unfortunately, as much as ReSharper insists, we're not going to be able to use that. Anyway, I'm also not worrying about threading issues because this is all happening on the main thread. I mean, honestly, I guess to be super, you know, standard best practices. Did I just break ReSharper? ReSharper, come on. Wow, it's really freaking out here. So I'm just going to do this manually. I can say var handle equals on lobby clicked. If handler does not equal null, do that. It doesn't really matter because Unity, we're all working on a single thread, but I guess just to be on the safe side, we'll invoke the handler in the standard way. Now set lobby details, very straightforward. We're simply going to do details equals details, and we're going to say text equals details dot name. In fact, we could maybe do something more interesting here. We could do a string.format, and we can do... this is going to really bug me. I've been working in JavaScript a lot, which has an awesome string interpolation feature in ECMA script 2015. And B, C# has string interpolation in C# 6, but we can't access that. This is going to bug me. All right, I'll do 0, and then how about 1? And then 0 will be details.name, and 1 will be details.playerCount. So every time the lobby details are updated, we can do that. Actually, we do have to make this we have to let's think here. Remember, our lobby details, the way it's serialized, it has that changed field. So I think I have to change the semantics of this just a little bit. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the concept of a lobby row to where it will take in a lobby details as a constructor parameter. So I am going to do that, and I'm going to immediately assign that to that. And then the set lobby details, I'm going to say if details.id does not equal details.id, throw new invalid operation exception, cannot update different lobby. And then what I'm going to do is let's do var name equals details dot name, var count equals details dot player count. Now notice we have details and details. I'm going to go ahead and just rename this actually. I'm going to rename this to updated details. The reason I'm doing that is because you have to make sure that we're comparing the right details to the right details. But remember, this lobby details might, this one that's being merged in might be different. So I'm going to alias out the name and alias out the count. And then I'm going to say if updated details dot changed dot, do I have that, that contains flag? Did I make that? I think I did. Contains flag fields dot name. Which will be lobby details fields dot name. Then name equals details dot name equals updated details dot name. Actually, I don't have to alias this out. I'm just going to say straight up details name equals details name. And then if updated details dot changed dot contains flag lobby details fields dot player count, then details player count equals updated details player count. We don't care about the rest right here. So we can maybe be a little bit more intelligent about how we're dealing with these different field changes, but for this, I think this is going to work just fine. So let's go ahead and jump up to the top. So here, take one last look at this class. Now let's jump up to the top and do the same thing that we did with the players. So I'm going to say private dictionary int lobby details lobbies, and I'm going to go ahead and instantiate this inside of the awake method. So we'll do int lobby row. It's going to be lobby row, not lobby details. I'm an idiot. So make sure that you fix that, or you probably didn't make that mistake to begin with. So now that we have that instantiated, let's jump down into our on lobby created. I'm actually going to try to keep... what's the best way to do this? I want to keep both of these things in view at the same time. So I could do a horizontal split, but let's actually do a vertical split. So I'm going to do window, new window, and I'm going to drag this to the right. So now we'll be able to write our on lobby created in the same way of our on player entered, and kind of just follow that pattern. So for our on lobby created, the first thing we do is create the game object. So I'll say lobby game object equals instantiate lobby row prefab, and I'll say lobby row equals new lobby row, passing in our details, so lobby, as well as lobby game object. Then I'm going to say, actually for this, I do need to actually fix something. So inside of our lobby our lobby row, it works a little different than our player row. So let's jump into the lobby row constructor real fast. When it after it does all this stuff, at the end, I want to initially set the lobby details to details. And that should just work. It'll do the same thing. So make sure that you invoke set lobby details so in the constructor like that. So then I'm going to say lobby game object dot transform set parent, and I'm going to set it to our lobby list, and then fix its world position. And then I'm going to say lobbies add lobby.id and lobby row. Okay, so that's that. Of course, it's lobby list.transform, not lobby list. In fact, we could make lobby list and player list not game objects. We could just pass in their transforms directly. That would work too. If you guys want to do that, you can. I'm not going to worry about refactoring that at this point, though. So for our updated, I'm simply going to do lobby row row. If not lobbies, try get value lobby ID out row. Then again, straightforward, the exact same thing we did with the player. We're going to debug error out cannot find lobby with ID lobby ID, and we will return. Then I'm simply going to say row dot set lobby details lobby. So that's how we're going to handle updating our lobbies. And then for destroying, very straightforward, similar thing here. So I'm just going to take this code up here, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it. And the only difference here is instead of doing lobby.id is we're going to just do the lobby ID, because we're not getting passed in a whole lobby object. We're just getting its ID. And then I'm simply going to do unity engine.object destroy row game object, and then I'm going to say lobbies.remove lobby ID. And that's it. So I do want to test this kind of ish really fast in this video. So what I'm going to do is something kind of silly here. So I'm going to go ahead and exit. I can exit that guy. Ah, that's not even close to where I wanted to be, by the way. Where were we? Main lobby system. I'm going to go ahead and exit full screen and jump back into Unity. And for the create lobby button, I'm going to do a couple things here. In the next video, we'll work on the actual lobby thing here. So, but for now, I'm just going to hide it. We're not going to worry about that right now. And then for our lobbies toolbar, create lobby button, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to add a new event handler, on-click handler. I'm going to drag over the main lobby system. And then for its function, I'm going to do main lobby system dot something. Dot, am I blind? I'm probably blind. Wow, that's not even close to how you... Well, that is close to how you spell it, but that's a terrible, terrible spelling error right there. So I'm going to scroll down and change that name of that method. I'm sure you guys caught that too. Create lobby, fix that, jump back over here, and then let it recompile. Come down here, and we'll do create lobby. So we'll create the lobby there. Then on the server side, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simulate a lobby being created. So I'm going to jump over into our server master systems main lobby system. And for its create lobby, what I'm going to do here is, well, let's test the error condition first. So I'm going to leave it as throwing a not implemented exception. So let's go ahead and test this. For our scenes, we'll join our loader. We'll log into our loader, hit play, log in as admin, create the lobby. Error, there was a fatal error, and that's excellent. That's exactly everything just worked in that case. So there's a fatal error because obviously it's not implemented. So with that done, let's jump back into our client, or sorry, our server code, and let's kind of simulate, let's pretend we're making a lobby. Let's just tell the client that a lobby was created, but not actually do anything fancy. So I'm going to say private int lobby ID, and then I'm going to say lobby ID ++, and I'm going to say var details equals new lobby details, passing in our lobby ID. And I can use string interpolation here, and I'm so glad that I can. We're going to say lobby ID for a player count, whatever, 10 is fine. Lobby status dot active, and then owner ID is going to, of course, be our context user details ID, and I'm simply going to return deferred dot success, passing in the details. And of course, our generic type inference will take care of which overload, and everything just magically works, and it's awesome. So let's go ahead and hit F6, get that build out. So it's building, and I'll let you guys know. I'm looking at the logs when it starts, and it just started. So now what I should be able to do is watch my lobbies get created. So we do have to wait for the database connection to be made. The initial database connection is always slower. And we'll create. And we're not... Oh, no. Derp. I'm dumb. I have the dumb. Let's come over here. In addition to returning the success, we also have to say proxy.onLobbyCreated. Because it doesn't create a lobby when the lobby... It doesn't add it to the list when the lobby's created. It only adds it to the list when it's broadcasted directly to the proxy. So we have to make sure to fix that. So create lobby. All right, awesome. We got an error, but that's fine. We'll figure this out. Oh, because I forgot to. Another thing you guys probably caught on before I did. I never set the lobby row prefab or the lobby list, so let's go ahead and fix that. Let's bring over lobby row into our. That's not what I wanted to do at all. Thankfully, Control Z works. Take our lobby row and dump it into lobby row prefab, not player row prefab. And then for our lobbies, take our lobby panel and dump it into our lobby list. So now we should be able to go back into the loader and hit run, log in, and check that out. Okay, that's going to bug me. I need to add a scroll view to that. I'm sorry. I wanted this video to be short, but it's not going to be because I want a scroll view. So our lobby panel. For lobbies, I'm going to right-click, go to scroll view. Now for scroll view, I'm going to go ahead and have it expand to fit all. But in addition to that, I need to set its top to 40 so it clears the toolbar. And for this lobby panel, I can go ahead and nuke the lobby panel entirely. And I'm going to rename the scroll view to lobby list. I'm going to disable its horizontal scroll. And then for its viewport content, I'm going to give it a vertical layout group. I'm going to remove its height. I'm going to give it a spacing of 5, a padding of 5 all around. I think that might be good, hopefully. And then we'll also give it a content size fitter, and we'll give its vertical fit to preferred size. All right, save that out. Jump into our loader. Hit save, hit play, and create a bunch of lobbies. And of course, I totally forgot to do the thing again, didn't I? Jump back into lobby, click on our main lobby system. For our viewport content, remember, we're wanting to add it to the content, not to the lobby list. Drag content over into the lobby list game objects. That's where those objects will be added to. Jump back into our loader. Hit save, hit play, and create a bunch of lobbies, and check that out. We have an awesome little scroll view here for all of our lobbies. Now, when I click on it, obviously nothing happens because we haven't wired that up. I do want to figure out what this error is real fast. Content for layout rebuild. When you're already inside a layout rebuild loop, this is not supported. I don't know what that means. Will it happen again if I... No error, no error, no error. Okay, I'm going to have to figure out why that error is being thrown on my own time. But anyway, that's the user interface. We will, in the next video, we'll go in and actually, well, have it so we can join a lobby. So the lobby panel shows up, we can select our team, select our hero. And then after that is when we're going to start talking about how we can build our connection to our game server. So we can have the master server tell game server, hey, you need to go ahead and create a game or have a game running, start the simulation, whatever, and figure out the load balancing with that. Anyway, I think that's it, and we'll see you guys in the next video.